I walked into the banquet hall and the room went quiet. Adrian was not at my side. He sat 2 tables away with his colleague, smiling like a movie star who never pays for his tickets. A host raised a glass to their new beginning, and someone laughed a little too loudly. I set a thin envelope on the linen. Adrian smirked. He always smirked. Then he read the first line and his face drained to chalk. Chairs scraped. His mother's hand froze over the cake knife. The jazz band sounded ridiculous. A month earlier, Adrian emptied our daughter's college fund, disappeared with his lover, and left me with a sink full of dishes and a silence that felt like winter. I shattered, until my 12-year-old said very calmly, "Mom, it is under control." Days later he called, screaming after he discovered what had been done. This is not a revenge tale. It is a protection story. It is how a child put a shield over our house when a grown man set it on fire. He did not notice me at first. The closet yawned open and shirts flew into a suitcase like frightened birds. No explanation, no eye contact. Only the metal rasp of a zipper that kept closing and opening, closing and opening. "What are you doing?" I asked. Adrian did not look up. What I should have done years ago. The sentence hit like a door slammed into my shoulder. More than 2 decades of marriage, and this was the exit. A man throwing sleeves and collars into a bag while I stood in pajama pants and a confusion so bright it hummed. "Adrian, stop." I touched his arm. He shrugged me off the way you shake rain from a sleeve. "Talk to me," I said. "Tell me what is happening." He finally met my gaze, and what I saw was nothing. No guilt, no sorrow, not even anger. Only a calm, cold purpose. "I am leaving today, Claire. Yesterday we talked about scholarships for Nova. Yesterday he kissed my forehead. Yesterday I was a wife. Today I was a noise in the hallway. Is there someone else?" The question fell out before I could swallow it. One of his shirts hung halfway into the suitcase. For a heartbeat, something flickered across his face. Then it was gone. "This is not about anyone else," he said. "I just need to breathe." I knew better. Phones face down at dinner, meetings that crawled past midnight, a new cologne that did not live in our house. I had trained myself to treat those details like wind against the windows. Now they sounded like a fire alarm. "Where will you go?" "I will figure it out." He closed the suitcase like a final period at the end of a long, boring novel. "I need you to transfer my half of the savings into my personal account." That sentence ripped the floorboards. Not just the money, the college fund, the joint accounts, the years. I ran downstairs, bare feet on cold wood. Nova sat at the table in her school polo, spoon over a bowl, eyes sharp as a hawk's. "Mom, what is wrong?" "Nothing, honey. Your dad has a trip." The lie tasted like metal. My hands shook as I opened the laptop. I signed in. The number stared back with a blank grin. Checking? Almost nothing. Savings? Nothing. Nova's college fund? The one we had fed for 12 long years, the one with line after line of careful deposits, the one we photographed every birthday to celebrate growth? That account now read 0. "No," I whispered. I refreshed. The zeros stayed. The bank agent was kind and useless. Yes, he had full access. Yes, the transfers were valid. Yes, I could file a complaint that would do nothing today. Footsteps. Adrian dragged the suitcase past the doorway. Nova and I both turned. He walked by us like we were furniture. "That is it?" I said, and my voice came out stronger than I felt. "More than 20 years, and you are just walking out?" He stopped with his hand on the knob. I left a voicemail. "I do not want a voicemail. I want you to look at your daughter and explain why you are abandoning her." Nova stood. She did not cry. She did not plead. She only watched him with that measured, quiet intelligence that used to make him proud. He met her eyes for 3 seconds, maybe 4. "You will understand when you are older." Then to me, softer, like the problem was mine. "Do not make this harder than it has to be." The door clicked, quieter than a slam, louder than thunder. We stood in the hum of the refrigerator and the heavy, ordinary air of a life that had changed. Outside, an engine started. It rolled away. "Is he coming back?" Nova asked. I wanted to invent a story with a bow on top, but she already knew. "I do not think so." She nodded, absorbing it like a fact from a textbook. "Did he take our money?" "Some of it," I wanted to say. "Not all," I wanted to pretend. I could not find a lie gentle enough. I nodded. She rinsed her bowl, dried it, slid it into the cabinet, then turned with a face I did not fully recognize. Calm, focused, older. "Mom, do not worry," she said. "I handled it." I almost laughed. She was 12. What could she have possibly handled? But there was no bravado in her tone, only quiet certainty. "What do you mean?" "I will miss the bus if I explain now." She lifted her backpack. "We will talk after school." She left, and the house felt like a stage after the audience goes home. I stood among props I suddenly saw too clearly. His extra toothbrush, his coffee mug, the photo on the mantel where none of us looked like strangers. That evening, Nova's keyboard clicked in a steady rhythm through the ceiling. I called my sister Mira and told her I was fine. I was not. I was a pile of thin glass. And yet the typing kept going until nearly midnight, metronome steady, like progress. The next day, the rhythm returned. On the third night, I brought grilled cheese and tomato soup to Nova's room. "Come in," she said. The laptop screen tilted away. She closed it as I crossed the threshold. "History report," she answered before I asked. "Industrial growth and labor reform." On her desk, a planner, neat notes, a stack of articles. Too neat, arranged like a display. Later, while folding laundry, I saw the corner of a page peeking from under her science text. I should not have looked. I looked anyway. It was a printed email thread with two names that turned my spine to ice. Adrian and Brittany Hale. "Mom?" Nova stood in the doorway with her empty plate. No panic, no guilt, only that same assessing calm. "You should sit." She closed the door behind her. "Where did you get this?" I whispered. "Dad is not good at passwords," she said. "And he thinks a second phone is a disguise. It is not." "Nova, how long have you known?" 6 weeks. She met my shock without blinking. "About the money since the day before he left." "Why did you not tell me?" "I wanted to be certain, and I wanted to decide what to do." "Sweetheart, that is not your job. He took my future. That makes it my job too." She reached under the mattress and pulled out a spiral notebook so full it bowed. Screenshots, timelines, numbers, flowcharts. I could not take it all in. "People reuse passwords," she said. "He does. So does she. They do not clear history. They forget that browser autofill is a gift to anyone who knows how to read it." My mouth was dry. "Nova, this is impressive and terrifying." She nodded. "Both can be true. What are you planning to do?" Her eyes hardened by a degree. "Already doing it." Nova did not brag. She documented. She opened a folder on her laptop labeled Science Project because apparently irony is a skill you learn young when life is unfair. Inside were tidy subfolders, financial logs, message archives, identity issues, countermeasures. She clicked with the calm of a surgeon. "It started with the second phone," she said. "He hid it behind the winter coats in his office closet. He forgot the mirror on the opposite wall. On the screen, blurry photos through a crack in the door. Adrian texting, the angle small, the truth huge. I waited until he left it charging. I had maybe 10 minutes. It was enough." She did not look proud. She looked methodical. That is how I found Brittany. Another folder opened. Screens of text messages scrolled past. My husband, writing like a man selling used cars to his own reflection. Plans, hotels. "We will handle Claire," he wrote, as if I were a bill to be filed. "We will move fast," he wrote, as if our daughter were luggage. My stomach rolled. "Nova, this is evidence." "Yes," she said. "Keep watching." She showed me bank statements that did not belong to me but carried my name. She showed me a credit inquiry attached to Nova's social security number. She showed me a mortgage pre-approval in a sunny county far from our town of Harbor Point, with a down payment equal to the number we had cheered every birthday with cake and candles. $75,000. Identity theft, I said, hearing the weight of the term as if for the first time. Fraud, she added, but it is not finished. She opened the countermeasures folder. It contained neat, relentless order. Dispute letters to credit bureaus, affidavits for stolen identity, complaints to a state banking division, a packet labeled Employer Notice, Brittany Hale, with screenshots that linked transfers from client accounts to a private wallet, then to a shared card. How did you... Her password, Nova said. Her last name plus the year she graduated, because she loves that year. Her public profile gave me the rest. People broadcast puzzle pieces and hope no one loves puzzles. You broke into systems, I said. I heard the tremble in my own voice. Nova, this is illegal. She took from elderly clients, Nova said, level as a ruler. He took from me. I did not take anything. I gave truth to people who needed it. I could not decide if I was more frightened by what had been done to us or by the competence of the 12-year-old in front of me. What now? Now we wait, she said. I sent evidence to her firm, to the board that licenses her, to her landlord who forbids illegal activity in the lease she did not read. I froze the fraudulent accounts tied to my name and yours. The mortgage app flagged itself once the credit freeze landed, and I placed a fraud alert so any bank that tries to touch us will call first. I stared. You did all of this when? Over the last 3 weeks? How did you even know how? Tutorials, forums? The internet is not only for dances and cat videos. She hesitated, then added, I practiced on my own accounts, strengthened them, then I built a kit. A kit? For other families, she said. But that is later. The phone rang the next afternoon while I was washing mugs that did not belong to me anymore. I wiped my hands and saw Adrian's name bloom on the screen. Claire, he said. His voice was strained, like a tight string. We need to talk. Something strange is happening. I kept my tone flat. What kind of strange? My bank froze my accounts. They said there's a federal review. Brittany was escorted out at work. Someone sent lies about embezzlement. Nova walked into the kitchen as he spoke. She poured water. She sat. She opened her laptop and her screens lit like a command center. I do not see how that concerns me, I said. It is too much to be a coincidence, he said. Someone is targeting us, someone with skills. A soft chime sounded from Nova's computer. On the line, Adrian sucked in a breath. What was that? Claire, something just opened my email. I can see messages blinking. Someone is inside my accounts right now. Call your bank, I said. Did you hire someone? He demanded. A private investigator? An expert? Tell them to stop. This is illegal. Nova shook her head once, eyes on the screen, fingers moving like a pianist. I did not hire anyone, I said, which was the truth. Keys rattled on his end. An email just sent itself to my boss, he gasped. From my address. They are posting things on my socials, documents, private messages. Then you should probably tell the truth, I said. The police said if the documents are real, it is whistleblowing, he said, and I could hear his mind turn that word around like a stone in his mouth. Claire, I was going to put the money back. We had an opportunity. Brittany's father would help me open my own firm. We would be rich. I would pay for Nova's college 10 times over. Nova closed her laptop with quiet finality. She stepped beside me and lifted the phone from my hand. Hi, Dad. Nova, thank God. Listen to me. Someone is doing terrible things to me. They are making me look like a criminal. You took $75,000 from my college account, she said. No anger, no heat, just the line that mattered. You used my identity to secure a loan. You applied for a house with Brittany in a county where palm trees do not know winter. There was a silence long enough to count my breaths. Who told you that? No one. I found it. You are 12, he said, as if age were a spell that could turn facts into smoke. "You do not understand. I understand that you committed crimes. I understand that you chose a woman who steals from clients. I understand that you planned to vanish and leave us holding debt." "You are confused," he tried. "I am not," she said. "I am watching." He began to plead. He said he loved us. He said he never meant harm. He said an investment was guaranteed. He said regret. He said excuses. "You taught me something," Nova said. "You taught me that people who are supposed to protect you sometimes choose themselves instead. So I chose us." She ended the call. The kitchen went very, very quiet. She slid the phone across the counter and returned to her chair. "He will not call back," she said. "How do you know?" "Because I am watching, and now he knows." That night I lay awake and listened to the keys in Nova's room. Not frantic, not gleeful, intent. I should have felt only fear. What I felt, buried under the worry, was a small, fierce spark of relief. Morning returned like it always does, pretending nothing has changed. Nova came down at 7:15, dressed, backpack zipped, lunch packed. She kissed my cheek. "Have a good day." "Are you okay?" I asked, catching her wrist. Her skin was warm, ordinary, alive. She tilted her head, considering. "I am fine. Are you?" I was not, but I could not gift her my brokenness and call it love. "Just checking on you." "I know." She squeezed my fingers. "Really, I am okay." She moved through the week with that same unsettling competence. Homework, dishes, a polite laugh at a joke that was not funny. At night, the typing returned. After midnight, it stopped. In the mornings, she looked rested. I did not. On Friday, I found a new folder in our shared cloud drive. Its title was plain: Family Safety Starter Pack. Inside lay checklists, sample emails to banks, instructions on freezes and fraud alerts, a simple guide to stronger passwords, and a page labeled Red Flags at Home. The first line read, "Face down phones at dinner are not shyness." "Where did this come from?" I asked at dinner. "I'm writing a guide," she said. "If it helps one family avoid what we went through, it is worth the time." "Are you ashamed of what you did to your father?" The question surprised both of us. She took a breath. "No, I am sad about who he chose to be, but I am not ashamed of telling the truth." I scheduled therapy for both of us with Dr. Patel, who specializes in grief and gifted kids. The office was painted in quiet blues. Nova walked in like it was a meeting. She sat up straight and described events in clean lines. How she discovered the second phone, how she documented, how she filed, froze, and reported, how she felt. Satisfied that there are consequences, relieved that we are protected, and angry that protection had to come from a child. "Do you feel afraid?" Dr. Patel asked. "I feel prepared," Nova said. "Prepared feels better than afraid." Afterward, in the hallway, Dr. Patel spoke to me gently. "Your daughter's mind is a well-built lighthouse. It turns, it sees far. It does not panic at rocks. Some children collapse under the weight of betrayal. Others build systems around themselves. She is building. The task for you is to keep her human while you celebrate her strength." At home, Nova had drawn up a spreadsheet that charted our smaller life. My library paycheck, the rent for our downsized apartment, groceries, utilities, a plan to rebuild the college fund no matter what the courts might force Adrian to return. She even added a line called Small Joys and suggested we keep it funded even if it was thin, because joy is also a bill. "File for divorce now," she advised one evening, her tone matter-of-fact. "Every day you wait is a day he can hide assets or build new debt in your name." "You are 12, I said, half laughing, half crying. "And I am correct," she said, soft but firm. "You can be both shocked by that and grateful. I signed papers the next week. I slept better. The first tangible echo of Nova's countermeasures arrived as an email from an investigator at Brittany's firm. Thank you for the documentation. Brittany Hale has been suspended pending a full audit. The licensing board has been notified. The message felt like cool water on a burned hand. Not relief, but the start of it. Then calls began. A landlord with questions. A bank that wanted a statement. A reporter fishing for a source and leaving with nothing. Nova never inserted herself. She did not preen. When I asked how she felt, she said, focused. One evening I found her speaking quietly on a video call. I heard only fragments. You are not alone. Yes, it was your mother, but you are still worthy of safety. Start with a freeze. I will email you the steps. Later, she told me she had joined an online support space for teens dealing with financial betrayal inside their own homes. She was the one who brought tools, not gossip. Is this healthy? I asked, worried I already knew. She gave me that old soul look. Helping makes the bad parts smaller. We went for a walk along Harbor Point's pier the next day. The water was gray and kind. A gull screamed at a crab and the crab ignored it. Nova leaned on the rail. Do you think he regrets it? She asked. I do not know, I said. Do you want him to? I want him to understand, she said. Regret feels like sadness for yourself. Understanding is different. It means the harm is clear to you. We watched a tiny sailboat tack against the wind. It looked stubborn and a little beautiful. That night, I tucked her in for the first time in weeks like I used to, with the stuffed fox she pretends not to need. Mom, she said in the darkness, do you think you are proud of me or scared of me? Yes, I said, and we both smiled. You are allowed to be both, she whispered. I am, I said, and I am also grateful. Good. Then turn off the light. I have school. I did as instructed. In the hallway, I leaned my head against the wall and took 3 slow breaths. Protection, I realized, is not always a sword. Sometimes it is a spreadsheet. Sometimes it is a 12-year-old who refuses to let lies write the ending. The week after the call, our house learned a new language. It was the language of forms and proof. I signed affidavits. I printed letters. I learned how to speak to banks without crying. Nova sat beside me like a quiet coach. Short sentences, she reminded. Facts first, feelings after. We assembled a binder. The cover was simple. Inside, every tab had a purpose. Identity theft, account closures, credit freezes, a timeline that even a sleepy clerk could follow. Nova added a section called What We Need From You, because clarity is a kindness and a strategy. I walked to the police station with the binder under my arm. My hands did not shake. A detective with soft eyes took the report. He did not promise miracles. He promised a record. Sometimes a record is the first real door. At home, Nova refined her starter pack. She tested each instruction by running it on a dummy account she built for practice. She spoke into a small microphone so families with screen readers could hear every step. Her voice was steady. She kept the words simple. Dr. Patel saw us again. Control is not a sin, she told me in her quiet office. It is a tool. Keep using it, and keep making room for softness. Softness. I looked for it the next morning. I found it in the way Nova tucked her fox under the pillow before school. I found it in the walk we took after dinner, where we named 3 things we were grateful for. The sun on the water, the smell of bread from the corner bakery, the fact that laughter still existed. 2 days later, an invitation slid into our mailbox. Ivory paper, crisp font. A celebration for Adrian's mother. A milestone birthday. Black tie. Family expected. I held the card as if it were a small, delicate bomb. I am not going, I said. Nova took the card, read it once, and set it on the table. "We should go." I blinked. "Why?" "Because pretending is their favorite game," she said. "Because truth needs a room that is not ours. And because you deserve to hold your head up in the place where you were treated like a shadow." "I will not cause a scene," I said. "You will not need to," she said. "Let the documents speak." Her plan was not a plan. It was preparation. She built a one-page summary anyone could understand. She gathered the letters from the bank and the licensing board. She included a simple cover note that began with the most important sentence. "For the sake of clarity and safety, this is what happened." "What if this hurts your grandmother?" I asked. "She has hurt you for years," Nova said, not unkindly. "Maybe the truth will hurt differently. Maybe it will heal." We bought a dress at a consignment shop. Navy, quiet, strong. Nova chose a simple black one that made her look like the most capable violinist at a concert. We practiced breathing. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 6. We wrote a single sentence we could say if anyone tried to bait us. We said it out loud until it felt like a floor. "I will not discuss private details at this event." The night before the party, Nova slid a thin envelope across the table. Inside was the one-page summary and a letter addressed to Adrian. "What is in the letter?" I asked. "Only true things," she said. "No drama, just a mirror." The morning of the party, I woke before the sun. I made tea. I sat with the binder on my lap and felt the weight of it. Paper is light. Evidence is not. "Mom," Nova said from the doorway, "you are allowed to be scared." "I am," I said, "and I am going anyway." "Good," she said. "That is bravery." We arrived a little late on purpose. Not enough to be rude, enough to enter when people were already seated. The hall was trimmed in gold and white. A jazz trio played something that tried to be cheerful. Adrian was there. Of course he was. He sat 2 tables away with Brittany. They looked like a magazine tryout for a life they did not earn. His mother sat at the head table, regal in a deep green dress. When she saw me, her mouth tightened, then softened into a smile she had not found for me in years. I nodded. Respect was free. A cousin waved, an aunt whispered behind a napkin. I let the noise pass like wind. A host took the microphone for a toast. He made a joke about love, about second chances, about new houses and fresh starts. Laughter came from the wrong places at the wrong time. Brittany's bracelet flashed. Nova set the envelope on the linen in front of Adrian. No flourish, no words. She returned to her seat with the small, fearless calm that had become her signature. He smirked at the envelope. He always smirked at anything he did not understand. He opened it. He read the first line. I watched the color leave his face as if pulled on a string. He did not speak. He did not stand. He looked at Brittany. She leaned in, reading over his shoulder, and the corners of her mouth fell. She lifted her chin, like a person who believes posture is armor. Adrian's mother saw the shift in the air. Mothers do. She looked at him. He tried to smile. It cracked. I did not gloat. I took a sip of water. The band played on, poor souls, unaware that the tempo had changed. The host, sensing a tension drift, clapped for speeches. A nephew told a story about childhood. A neighbor spoke about kindness. Between words, whispers thickened. You can always feel truth enter a room. It is colder. It is cleaner. Adrian stood as if to leave. His mother's hand touched his arm, light and royal. He sat. Brittany stared at the tablecloth as if she might find another life woven into it. During dessert, the firm's investigator called Brittany. She declined the call. The phone vibrated again. A third time. She silenced it and smiled a smile that lived nowhere near her eyes. A server placed cake in front of Nova. Nova thanked him with such simple grace that he smiled for the first time that night. Adrian finally looked at me, not with love, not with anger, with a request I could not grant, the request to return to a world where actions do not have consequences. I picked up my glass. I had not planned to speak. I did not, in fact, speak. I lifted the glass to his mother. She lifted hers back. For a moment, we were two women who loved someone who had made a ruin of his own choices. On our way out, a distant uncle stepped into our path. "Is this necessary?" he asked, eyes flicking toward Adrian. Nova answered, gentle and exact. "Necessary is a college fund. Necessary is a secure identity. Necessary is safety." She nodded to him like she had just defined a term in a debate. We walked on. Outside, the night was clear and honest. The air felt easier to breathe. In the car, Nova looked out the window. "I did not enjoy that," she said. "You were not supposed to," I answered. "Justice is a tool, not a dessert." She smiled. "Dr. Patel would like that sentence." "So do I said, and I meant it. At home, we hung our dresses. We made tea. We sat on the floor with our backs against the couch, like two campers sharing a small fire. My phone buzzed with messages from relatives that ranged from supportive to enraged. I answered none of them. Silence is a boundary. It does not need exclamation points. Before bed, Nova checked our accounts, our freezes, our alerts. All tight, all calm. She closed the laptop. "Tomorrow," she said, "we rest." "Tomorrow," I agreed. We did. The banquet did not end anything. It only ended the pretending. That is its own kind of finish. In the days that followed, the investigation into Brittany accelerated. Clients compared statements and found gaps the size of trust. The board sent official language that used words like suspension, audit, and referral. The firm tried to call it a misunderstanding until the math refused to lie. Adrian texted me twice. The first message said, "Can we talk?" The second said, "Please." I did not answer. He had our lawyer's address. That is where conversations would live from now on. He tried Nova once. She blocked him. She did not announce it. She only nodded to herself as if checking off a task called, "Do not feed the fire." My mother-in-law called. I expected blame. I received something else. "I raised a son who hid from honesty," she said. "I see that now. I am sorry for the times I helped him hide." I sat on the edge of my bed and let that apology land. It did not fix the past. It lit a small lamp near the door. We moved into the smaller apartment 2 blocks from the library. The walls were not ours yet, but they listened kindly. Nova chose a desk near the window. I set a plant on the sill that would thrive if I remembered to give it water and would forgive me when I forgot. A reporter sent an email asking to speak to the anonymous source who had broken the embezzlement case. I replied with one sentence. The documents speak for themselves. She wrote a fair piece anyway. She called the source a person who understands that sunlight is still a disinfectant. I cut that sentence out of the paper and tucked it into the binder's pocket labeled Good Words. Nova's starter pack grew into a full guide. She published it online for free. She set up an inbox for questions and answered them after homework. She never accepted payment. "The paid work comes later," she said. "This part should be a public library." A technology company wrote to her with an offer, scholarship, a job after graduation, a salary that made my throat tight. Nova read the email twice and closed the laptop. "They want to own what I build," she said. "I would rather build something that belongs to the people who need it." "What will you build?" I asked. "A non-profit," she said. "Later. For now, a service, a small one family at a time." She designed a simple site with a calm name, Safe House Steps. She offered 3 things: education, guidance, and a way to breathe. She met clients by video, voice only. She never lied about her age. She never disclosed it. She let the work speak. The work spoke well. Dr. Patel asked me during a session, "What news story do you want to write about yourself?" "I am not the woman he left," I said slowly. "I am the woman who stayed. I am the woman who learned. I am the woman who holds the door open for the child who saved us and says, "After you." That sounds like truth, Dr. Patel said. Truth heals slowly and then all at once. On a quiet Sunday, Nova and I sorted receipts for taxes. Boring, normal, good. She looked up. "Mom, I want to do something brave that is not about him." "What?" "A school presentation," she said, "for families, for staff, for anyone who wants to learn. I will call it How to See the Signs Before It Is Too Late." "That is a heavy title. It is a heavy topic," she said. "But I will make it clear, and I will make it kind." We booked the auditorium. We printed flyers. We baked cookies because cookies make hard things softer. On the night of the talk, the room filled. Teachers, parents, teens who sat together and pretended they were not afraid. Nova stood at the front in a simple sweater and spoke in clean, gentle lines. She never said Adrian's name. She never said Brittany's. She said words like pattern, access, boundaries, and help. She ended with one slide in big letters: "You deserve safety." The applause was not loud. It was long. The kind of long that means people are breathing easier. Afterward, a boy around Nova's age waited until the crowd thinned. He looked like someone who had learned to fold himself small. "Thank you," he said. "I thought I was crazy." "You are not," Nova said. "You are awake." We walked home under a sky that had not yet chosen whether to rain. Nova took my hand, like she used to when she was small. "Do you think this is who I am now?" she asked. "Who is that?" "Someone who fixes things with facts." "Yes," I said. "And someone who loves." Both are true. A week later, an official envelope arrived. The state had accepted the identity theft report. The fraudulent loan was voided. The mortgage application was denied with prejudice. The letter closed with a line I read twice. "Thank you for your careful documentation." I set the envelope on the table. Nova read it. She did not cheer. She smiled, a small, real smile. "We are safer," she said. "Yes," I said, "we are." That night, as I turned off the kitchen light, I realized the house felt watchful in a new way. Not like a threat, like a guardian. Maybe paper can grow teeth. Maybe a child can be a shield. Maybe both can be true at once. The letter from the state gave us air. The court gave us a calendar. Dates, times, rooms with beige walls, and chairs that tried to look kind. My attorney, Ms. Alvarez, spoke in clear, rectangular sentences. "We start with depositions," she said. "You answer only what is asked. You do not decorate." "I can do that," I said, though my chest felt like a drawer stuck half open. Nova watched me practice with Ms. Alvarez at the dining table. "Short answers," Nova reminded. "Facts first." I smiled. I have heard that somewhere. The day of the deposition, I wore the navy dress again. Not for luck, for continuity. Nova pressed a small fox pin into my palm at the door. "For pocket courage," she said. Adrian arrived with a lawyer who smelled like aftershave and victory he had not yet earned. He did not look at me while he sat. He looked at the table. Guilt can be shy when it realizes it is not the main character. A court reporter with kind hands swore us in. Microphones waited like open ears. Questions came in steady rows. When did you notice missing funds? When did he leave? What accounts did he access? I answered with dates and verbs. I did not offer adjectives. The reporter's machine made a small, patient music. Adrian's lawyer tried to stroll into feelings. "Would you say my client was a loving husband until the stress of recent months?" "Objection," Ms. Alvarez said. "Calls for speculation." "Sustained," said the heir. He pivoted. "Is it true you have encouraged your daughter to interfere with her father's career?" "No," I said. "I have encouraged my daughter to protect herself." "Did you or your daughter leak private information about my client to his employer?" "I did not," I said. "As for my daughter, she does not work for his employer, and she does not need to answer to you in this room." Ms. Alvarez laid a finger on my sleeve. A small anchor. The lawyer moved on. When it was Adrian's turn, his voice tried to be smooth. It came out gravel. He said he had intended to repay. He said he had been misled. He said Brittany had promised. He said he was sorry that feelings were hurt. Money was not a feeling, Ms. Alvarez said. Where is it now? He looked at the table again. Gone. After, in the hallway, he stood near the water fountain like a student who had not studied enough. Claire, he said, we could make this easier. I waited. If you withdraw the identity theft report, he said, I can find a way to. No, I said. You will make me an enemy, he said softly. I thought of Nova's steady keys at midnight. I thought of the binder's weight. I thought of the fox pin warm in my fist. You did that work yourself, I said, and walked away. At home, Nova had made lentil soup. She ladled it with ceremony. How did it go? I told the truth, I said. The truth did its part. She nodded, pleased. Tomorrow we add a chapter to the guide, she said. How to speak in rooms that want you small. We did. We wrote it together. We kept the sentences short. We added a tip in bold. Bring one object that reminds you who you are. The next day, Dr. Patel asked me what I feared now. Not the past, the present. Backlash, I said. From family, from him, from strangers with opinions. She nodded. Fear is a forecast, she said. Sometimes it rains. Sometimes you carry an umbrella and the sun comes out. The umbrella is still worth it. The umbrella, for me, was community. The librarian in me built a circle. Friends brought meals. A neighbor fixed a leaky sink. The PTA president asked if Nova would share her guide with the district. Nova said yes, with cookies, again. Brittany tried a new tactic. She sent a message through a mutual acquaintance, attachment and all. A photo of a deed in a sunny county and a caption that read, "This was almost ours." I showed it to Ms. Alvarez. She filed it with a note that said, "Almost is not defense." She taught me that spite sometimes mails you evidence. You simply have to open the letter with gloves. On a gray Tuesday, I found a small box at our door. Inside lay the bracelet Brittany had worn at the banquet. A card said, "He cannot pay me back. Maybe you can." There was no return address. I set the box on a shelf we use for odd things we have not named yet. "What will you do with it?" Nova asked. "Keep it," I said, "as a lesson." "What lesson?" "That expensive does not mean valuable," I said, "and that not everything handed to you belongs to you." Nova smiled like a teacher whose student found the point. That weekend we went to the farmer's market. We bought bread that made the whole car smell like comfort. We stood in line for coffee. A woman I did not know touched my elbow. "You do not know me," she said, "but my sister is one of the clients your daughter's guide helped." "Thank you." I cried a little. She did too. We were strangers, and not strangers at all. On Sunday night, Nova taped a new page to the refrigerator. House rules. There were only 3. 1. We tell the truth even when it is heavy. 2. We rest on purpose. 3. We do not shrink to make other people more comfortable. I signed at the bottom. So did she. The next morning, I woke and realized something had shifted inside me. I was not waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was buying shoes that fit. I did not want to go. Of every event on the calendar, the hospital fundraiser felt like a room built to make people like us feel small. But the library had donated a family literacy basket to the silent auction, and my supervisor asked me to represent us at the table. "It matters that they see we care," she said. She was right. I went. The gala was all glass and light and the soft clink of cutlery. A string quartet tried to compete with conversations about renovations and wings named after donors. I stood by the auction table and explained our basket to anyone who paused. Storytime kits, a library card sign-up, a pass for museum day, Small doors into big worlds. A man in a tuxedo stalked with a practiced smile. "This is wonderful," he said. His name tag read, Dr. Rowan Hale. My stomach registered the last name before my eyes admitted it. He was Brittany's father. He did not recognize me. Why would he? He knew his daughter's glossy version of our lives, not the unvarnished one. He asked about the library. He asked about after-school programs. He donated on the spot with a flourish that said generosity and a calculation that said public. Then he saw Nova, who had come with me to help. His smile widened. "And who is this?" "My daughter," I said. "Nova." "Bright name," he said. "I am very involved in youth mentorship." He handed her a card without asking if she wanted one. "If you ever need opportunities," Nova took the card. "Thank you," she said. Her tone was neutral as a glass of water. She looked at the card, then at him. "You are Dr. Hale." "I am," he said, proud of it. "You are Brittany Hale's father," she said evenly. His face changed by a degree you would miss if you were not paying attention. He blinked once, slow. "Yes," he said. Nova nodded. "Then you should know that the board will likely publish their decision within 2 weeks," she said. "You should also know that several of her clients have retained counsel." The music swelled. The air thinned. He looked at me as if I had planted a device. "I do not discuss private matters," I said, and turned a page in the auction catalog. He leaned closer to Nova as if she were a colleague at a conference. "I do not know who has filled your head with, 'My head is full of facts,'" Nova said softly. "Yours should be too." He drew back as if she had pressed a cool hand against a fever. For a breath I saw not a surgeon, not a father, but a man who built a life on certainty being asked to feel the floor move. He opened his mouth. He closed it again. He left. "Was that wise?" I asked after he vanished into a knot of donors. "It was kind," she said. "He can prepare now." The evening dragged. It was not ours to enjoy. We did our job. We smiled when people cared. We smiled when they did not. We left before dessert. At home, I made cocoa. Nova sat at the table and drew shapes on a napkin with a spoon. She looked smaller than her voice had sounded. "That was a lot," I said. She nodded. He looked like the kind of man who thinks consequences are unprofessional. "Consequences are personal," I said. "That does not make them unprofessional." She grinned. "Put that on the fridge." The next day, a letter arrived from Dr. Hale's office. It was crisp and defensive and offered no apology. It said our behavior at the gala was inappropriate. It said we had embarrassed ourselves. It said we should refrain from public commentary. Ms. Alvarez laughed when she read it. "They want you small," she said. "Decline." We did not respond at all. A week later, a different letter arrived. This one was from the board. Brittany had been officially stripped of her license pending criminal proceedings. The phrase public trust appeared twice. The phrase pattern of misconduct appeared 3 times. I thought of Dr. Hale. I thought of the way men in glass rooms dislike cracks. I felt an odd, uncharitable burst of relief, and then, just as quickly, the quiet ache of a family breaking, even if that family had harmed mine. Both feelings can live in one chest. Humans are large enough for that. Nova updated the guide. New section, what accountability can look like. She added a line in bold. Accountability is not a performance, it is a process. That night, while washing dishes, I realized I had stopped rehearsing arguments in my head. The inside of my skull was not a courtroom anymore. It was a kitchen, a window, a plant that needed water. We did not chase attention. Attention found us anyway. It started with a teacher who shared Nova's guide in a parent group. Then a principal posted it on the district site. Then a regional news outlet wrote a small piece about a local resource that makes a big difference. The headline used the word brave. Nova rolled her eyes. "Brave is firefighters," she said. "This is organized." The piece was picked up by a national blogger who writes about family safety. She did not name Nova. She did not name Adrian. She called the author a young expert who prefers work to applause. That line traveled. Emails multiplied. My husband opened a card in my name. My mother emptied my account. My brother is using my social. Nova answered as many as our evenings could hold. She said, "I am not a lawyer." She said, "Here are the steps." She said, "You deserve safety." She never said, "I can fix this for you." She said, "You can do more than you think." Then, a reporter called from a television show that loves redemption arcs and tears. She wanted us on camera. She wanted the kitchen shot. She wanted the slow nod and the clasped hands and the line that lands before a commercial. "No," Nova said politely. The reporter pushed. "America needs to see. America needs a checklist," Nova said. "You can publish the guide again, for free." The reporter sighed and did. The post went viral. The comments were a flood. Some were kind, some were cruel, some were confused. The internet is a city with every neighborhood at once. I worried about backlash. I worried about doxing. Nova shrugged. "We already live small," she said. "They can only shrink what agrees to be smaller." Still, we took precautions. We scrubbed metadata. We rotated passwords. We taught the guide's readers to do the same. Nova made a video with her voice filtered and her face off screen. "Safety first," the caption said. "Always." One afternoon, the library hosted a panel on digital protection for families. We invited a social worker, a detective, and a legal aid attorney. Nova agreed to join as the guide's author. No last name, no fanfare, just a chair and a microphone. The room overflowed. People stood in the back. People sat on the floor. A grandmother asked how to talk to a grandson who suddenly guarded his phone like a secret. A teen asked how to convince a parent to check a credit report without starting a war. A father asked how to apologize for missing the signs. Nova answered with simple steps and softer words. "Start with one thing," she said. "Pick a small rock. Move it. The mountain comes later." Near the end, a man walked in late and stood near the exit. He wore a cap low and a look that tried to be invisible. My heart misfired. It was Adrian. He stayed in the back. He listened. When the questions ended, he did not clap. He turned to go. Then he stopped and looked at his feet like they were strangers. He left. That night, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "I see now." No name, no punctuation. I blocked it. Insight is not apology. It is a seed. Let him plant it somewhere far from us. 2 days later, a judge signed a temporary order for support. The amount was modest and enforceable. Ms. Alvarez called it the first shovel of dirt over old ground. We marked the calendar with a small star. Nova and I celebrated with takeout dumplings and a movie that did not try to fix anything. After, she opened her laptop and announced, "We are at 100,000 downloads." I stared. "From a kitchen table," I said. "From a spreadsheet and a choice," she said. "From a mother who kept showing up." I looked at her and felt the shape of pride without the edge of fear. It was a new feeling. I liked it. That weekend, we walked the pier again. The water was not kinder. We were stronger. A boy from the panel approached, cheeks pink with courage. "I froze my credit," he said. "My mom cried. Then she laughed. Thank you." "You did it," Nova said. "Thank yourself." On the way home, Nova asked, "Do you think we are done?" "With what?" I asked. "Turning bad into good?" "We are never done," I said. "But we are further than we were." She nodded, satisfied. "Then tomorrow I will rest." "You are allowed," I said. "House rule number 2. She smiled. And maybe we will buy a plant that forgives you twice." "Ambitious," I said. "Optimistic," she corrected. "Both are true." That night, I opened the binder to the pocket labeled Good Words and added a printout of a comment from the guide's site. For the first time, I feel like I am not crazy. I am just early. I stood in the kitchen and let that line settle. Sometimes survival is simply being early to your own rescue. In the quiet, a small sound came from Nova's room, not typing, humming, a song with no words yet. It felt like proof that we were moving from defense to life. The download counter kept rising. The court dates kept coming. Life is good at letting two truths walk side by side. Ms. Alvarez called with updates in a calm voice that made me believe in stares. "A preliminary hearing," she said, "then a status conference, then a motion on support." She paused. "There is also a civil case forming against Brittany from former clients." "Do we have to be involved?" I asked. "Only as witnesses if needed," she said. "You do not owe anyone your story. You owe only your testimony." That difference mattered. Nova nodded when I told her. "Testimony is a tool," she said. "Story is a gift. We choose when to give it." The morning of the preliminary hearing, the sky wore a clean blue that felt like confidence. I did not mistake the weather for a sign. I wore the navy dress anyway. Nova slid the fox pin into my palm. We both smiled. In the courtroom, time stretched and shrank. Lawyers shuffled papers. A bailiff spoke the same sentence he speaks every day. "All rise." We did. The judge entered. Her gaze was level and tired and kind. Adrian sat 2 rows ahead in a suit that fit him less than it once did. He did not turn. Brittany was not there. Her absence had a shape. The arguments were clinical. The facts were not. Ms. Alvarez told the court that a fund for a child had been emptied. That identity had been used as an instrument. That trust had been traded for a promise of fast wealth. Adrian's counsel tried to paint urgency, misunderstanding, a man under pressure who made poor choices with good intentions. The judge listened. She asked few questions. She set clear timelines. She used the word restitution and then, with precision, the word enforcement. Words can be scaffolding. These were. Outside the courtroom, Adrian waited by the staircase. He spoke without looking at me. "I am attending meetings," he said, "for decisions, for impulses." "I hope they help," I said. "Can I see Nova?" he asked. I heard Nova's steps behind me and kept my voice even. "You can petition for supervised visits," I said. "That is what the court allows." He flinched like the word supervised had sharp edges. He nodded once and left. I did not watch him go. I looked at Nova. "Are you okay?" I asked. She inhaled, held, exhaled. "I am okay," she said. Then she added, "I am also not okay." Both can live in one sentence. She is wise enough to let them. We walked to the plaza outside and sat on a bench that faced a city tree with leaves like unspoken advice. A woman approached with careful steps, as if asking permission from the ground. "Are you Claire?" she asked. "And Nova?" "We are," I said. She introduced herself as a legal aid attorney from another county. She had read the guide. She had used it to help a grandmother freeze a line of credit her son had opened in her name. "You saved her house," the attorney said. "We did not," Nova answered. "You did. We made a map. You drove." The attorney laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was true in a way that felt better than applause. She left us with a small card and a bigger feeling that we were not alone in the work. That afternoon, Dr. Patel asked me to imagine a future day without court, without forms, without the word fraud echoing in our walls. "What would you be doing?" she asked. "I would be shelving books," I said. I would be recommending a novel to a teenager who thinks she hates reading. I would be watering a plant before it asked. And you, Nova? Nova sat with her hands folded and her eyes steady. I would be teaching kids how to keep their digital houses locked, she said, and I would be playing the piano again. The piano had been sold the year money got thin. Dr. Patel noticed the flicker in Nova's face. We can find a keyboard, she said. A used one, small, enough to make your fingers remember. Nova smiled. It looked like sunrise. I did not know how we would make it happen. I knew we would. By evening, a neighbor messaged about a keyboard her nephew had outgrown. If you can pick it up, she wrote, it is yours. The universe sometimes moves like a librarian, quietly, in the right direction. Nova set it on her desk and pressed a key. The sound was tinny and wonderful. She played a scale like a person telling an old friend hello. We ate simple pasta and watched a movie with dialogue we could talk over. Between scenes, Nova asked, "Do you think the judge believed us?" "I think the judge believed the evidence," I said. "And I think she saw us." Nova nodded. Seeing matters. Before bed, I opened the binder, added the day's orders, and wrote one line in the margins. We are more than what was done to us. The ink dried into a promise. The petition for supervised visits moved faster than I expected. Papers enjoy rhythm once they have a beat. A family center 2 neighborhoods over handled the logistics. A room with toys, a couch that wanted to be gentle, a clock that forgot to mind its own business. Do you want to go? I asked Nova. The decision was hers. I want to see if there is anything left, she said. Not for him, for me. We met a social worker at the door. She explained the rules. An hour, monitored, no promises, no secrets. Nova listened like a student who would obey the rules because she understood why rules exist. Adrian arrived late. He looked smaller, like a sketch of himself. He hugged himself with his own arms. He sat. Nova sat across from him. I stayed where the social worker asked me to, far enough to watch, close enough to step in if needed. Hi, he said. Hi, she said. Silence moved chairs. He tried first. He asked about school. Nova said she liked literature and math and that gym was too loud. He asked about friends. She said she had a few and even liked them. He asked about the guide. She said it was a project that became a service and then a community. I am proud of you, he said, voice catching. You are remarkable. I know, she said softly. It was not arrogance, it was a fact she had finally agreed to. He tried harder. He said he was doing the work. He said words like accountability and program and amends. He did not say the names of specific harms. He did not say the word theft. He did not say, I took. Nova did not prompt him. That is not the child's job. I miss you, he added. I miss who I thought you were, she answered. That person felt safe. I know now he was a costume. He flinched. He looked at the carpet as if it might give him lines. When he spoke again, the words were different. I took money that was not mine, he said, not looking up. I used your identity because it was easy. I lied. I made myself the center. I hurt you and your mother. I am sorry. Nova watched his hands. She watched his shoulders. She watched like a scientist who also has a heart. What will you do next? She asked. Whatever the court orders, he said. That is the floor, she said. What about the ceiling? He did not understand the metaphor. He said something about compliance. She shook her head. Doing the minimum is not an apology, she said. It is a start. The hour closed. The social worker thanked them. Adrian stood, then hesitated. Can I hug you? He asked. Nova considered. Not today, she said. Maybe another time if you keep choosing truth. He nodded, as if truth were a new language he had to learn the alphabet for. He left without looking back. That felt honest. In the car, Nova gazed out the window. I did not feel what I thought I would feel. What did you feel? I asked. Sadness and relief at the same time, she said. Like a door closing and a window opening, but not dramatic, just correct. You did well, I said. I did enough, she answered. That is not the same thing. Sometimes it is better. At home, we made grilled cheese like the night I first saw the emails in her notebook. The difference was a kitchen that felt like itself again. The difference was our ability to breathe without counting. Ms. Alvarez called the next day. The restitution order is signed, she said. A payment plan, wage garnishment if needed. It is not quick, but it exists. Thank you, I said. There are professions where gratitude is the currency that pays the invisible work. Law is one. Librarianship is another. I know how to say thank you in a way that implies a bow. 2 evenings later, I found a package with no return address. Inside was a small notebook with a dark cover and a single line written on the first page. I will not take what is not mine again. The handwriting was Adrian's. Nova looked at it. I hope he writes in it every day, she said, but we will not keep this. We took it to the family center at our next visit and handed it to the social worker. Please add it to the file, I said. Paper can hold people to their words. After the second supervised visit, Nova asked to stop for a while. I got what I needed, she said. Now I want space. I respected that. Space is not absence. It is air. Nova poured her energy back into her keyboard and her guide. She composed a small piece that started with 3 notes and grew into a shape like steady rain. She named it Pocket Courage and uploaded a recording with an open license. Use this while you fill out forms, the description read, or while you rest. Our apartment filled with messages from strangers playing Nova's short song while they waited on hold with banks, while they drafted letters, while they told the truth to someone who wanted them small. Music, it turns out, is also a guide. One afternoon, my mother-in-law called. I would like tea, she said, with you and with Nova. No speeches. We said yes. She arrived with a tin of cookies and a face that had learned to let go of defenses. She sat at our table and listened. She did not defend her son. She did not attack him. She said, I am sorry I made you feel less, and thank you for protecting my granddaughter, and also, I am learning how to be a better mother in the last part of my life. When she left, Nova looked both lighter and older. People can change, she said. Not overnight, but yes, I said. That night I dreamt of the banquet hall again. This time there was no envelope, only music that did not try so hard, and a room that did not belong to us because rooms do not belong to people. They belong to moments. Ours had moved on. The crisis that began this story no longer set our clocks. Bills still arrived. Work still required me to show up, but the days arranged themselves around something new. Building. Nova turned Safe House Steps into a small legal entity. A friend of Ms. Alvarez helped us file the simplest version. A neighbor designed a logo for the price of 2 pies. I baked one and bought one. Both were good. We set clear boundaries. No hacking. No accessing anything that is not yours. No promises of outcomes. Only education, templates, referrals, and presence. We wrote those rules on the front page of the site and on the wall above Nova's desk. She published a second guide, How to Talk About Money Without Making It a War. It was full of scripts. I feel worried when I do not understand our accounts. I want to look together this Saturday. If we have nothing to hide, then transparency should feel like relief. I took over the email queue on weekends so Nova could be a kid. I answered with templates and links, and when possible, jokes. Humor is a ladder when holes open under your feet. A local foundation invited Nova to apply for a youth grant. She hesitated, then wrote an application that sounded like her. We will make pockets of safety, she wrote. We will keep them free. The award arrived 2 months later. Not large enough. She bought a better microphone, paid for hosted translation into 2 languages, and funded a print run of the starter pack for families without reliable internet. At school, a counselor asked if Nova would lead a small group for students dealing with financial harm at home. She said yes, with conditions. An adult facilitator present, clear confidentiality rules, and cookies. Cookies remained a theme. Dr. Patel asked me what I wanted now that we were not surviving minute to minute. It took me a while to answer. Finally, I said, "I want to write." "What?" she asked. "Stories for the library's teen blog," I said. "About choosing yourself without burning the village. About asking for help without apologizing." "Do it," she said. "The world needs gentler maps." I wrote one post, then another. Teens wrote back. "I sent this to my aunt. I printed this for my mom. I read this to myself out loud. Words left my body and did their work elsewhere. That is the small magic I live for." A final hearing on support and division of debts brought us back to the beige room with the kind judge. She reviewed payments made. She looked over documentation. She declined to erase what could not be erased. She accepted what could be. She signed orders that made our future less wobbly. Afterward, in the hallway, Adrian stood aside to let us pass. "Thank you," he said, not for anything in particular. Perhaps for the fact that we had chosen process over spectacle. Perhaps for the fact that we were not screaming. "You are welcome," I said. Not because he had earned it, but because I had earned the peace that comes with saying words that do not poison me. On the way home, we stopped at the pier. The water was its usual complicated self. A child ran past with a kite that refused to launch and then, suddenly, rose. Nova laughed out loud, a sound I will always be ready to hear. "Is this the end?" she asked. "It is an end," I said, "and a beginning. That is how doors work. They are also doorways." At dinner, we lit a small candle, not for ceremony, for light. We listed 3 things we had learned. I said that I am not brittle. Nova said that I can be powerful and kind at the same time. We both said that rest is a skill. Later, I watched her at the keyboard. She played Pocket Courage, then let her fingers try something new. A melody that felt like walking into a room you once feared and finding it smaller, gentler, yours. I wrote a line for the binder's Good Words pocket. We stayed. The next morning, the sun did what it always does. It rose without asking our permission. We thanked it anyway. Months later, an invitation arrived to speak at a regional conference for educators and social workers. I declined the stage. I offered a workshop instead. Small room, chairs in a circle, a table with handouts and tea. I opened with a sentence that still feels like a home key. "You cannot fix everything," I said. "You can build a place where fixing is possible." We practiced scripts. We practiced the phone call to a bank. We practiced saying no without rehearsing a paragraph of apology. We practiced the breathing that lets your voice come out steady. Nova co-led. She wore a simple sweater and the fox pin like a joke only we understood. She spoke about boundaries and checklists and the courage of small actions. She did not say her father's name. She did not say Brittany's. She said, "You deserve safety," and the room breathed like a single chest. At the end, a young teacher with tired eyes asked, "What do we tell a kid who thinks it is their job to save the whole family?" Nova answered without looking at me. "Tell them it is not their job," she said. "Tell them it is okay to protect themselves. Tell them they can ask for help without proving they deserve it first." She paused. "And tell the adults in the room to do their jobs." Applause would have been too loud for the feeling. People nodded. People wiped their faces. People took the guide and the cookies and carried both like tools. That night, at home, Nova set the fox pin on the dresser and looked at me across the room that used to feel like a cave and now felt like a porch. "Mom," she said, "we did not get what we deserved. We got what we built." "Yes," I said, "and we will keep building." She smiled and turned off the light. In the dark, the keyboard's power button glowed a small, faithful blue. I fell asleep to the quiet hum of a home that had learned how to watch over itself.